Hello, how are you? Many people frequently complain about poor circulation, tired legs, swollen feet, tingling, and even cold extremities, and you should know that this is not a normal state for your body. We know that ginger can play a very interesting role in blood vessel inflammation and circulatory problems, and today I'm going to talk to you about what is scientifically proven and how to add ginger to your diet. You're going to love this video, so stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. Before we start, I want to ask you if you have any of the symptoms I mentioned. Do you notice that your circulation isn't that good? I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video. It really helps me here on the channel. It shows YouTube that you enjoy the channel, support it, and trust my content. If you know someone who struggles with circulation, take the opportunity to share this video. Let's work together to expand this chain of good, because that's what I want here on the channel. When we talk about poor circulation, people used to think of that idea of weak blood as if the problem was in the blood itself. But we know that, in reality, many times the cause of poor circulation is actually chronic venous insufficiency, in other words, in the blood vessels. For most people, what happens is a low-grade chronic inflammation, stiffness of the blood vessels, and dysfunction of the endothelium, which is that layer that controls the opening and closing of the vessels. This slows down the microcirculation and makes venous return more difficult, which impairs circulation a bit and can cause those symptoms I mentioned to you. Many studies have been conducted because of this issue with the vessels and circulation, and one of the things that has most impressed scientists is actually the relationship between ginger, gingerols, and showgales with this venous part, the arteries and veins. They can help reduce oxidative stress inside the vessel, decrease local inflammatory signals, and promote a more efficient vascular response. In other words, the vessel relaxes better when it needs to, contracts better when necessary, and the blood encounters less resistance. When we think about circulation, we often only think about the heart's strength. But remember that the heart pumps the blood and sends it through the arteries until it reaches all the organs and extremities of our body. But for the blood to return to the heart, it comes back through the vessels. And if the vessels are compromised and don't perform this function as well, that's when the circulatory problems we're talking about here occur. Studies have even found that ginger acts on inflammatory mediators, influences the response of the peripheral nervous system, and promotes functional microcirculation. That's why for some people, there's a sensation of less cold in the extremities, less tingling, and greater circulatory comfort. So this ends up being really functional. It obviously helps with these symptoms, but we need to make it very clear here that it won't cure your blood vessels or replace any type of medication. Another very interesting point that has been drawing the attention of science is the role that ginger plays in platelet aggregation and blood viscosity in this inflammatory context. Ginger can slightly reduce the tendency of blood to clot, which would benefit microcirculation, venous return, and that feeling of heaviness in the legs. So it's very important to mention that it can have this effect on your blood in terms of making your blood more or less viscous, but obviously it's not an anticoagulant, it doesn't replace medication, and it doesn't pose a risk when you use it as a food in normal daily amounts. Some people say they experience more improvement and others less with ginger, and this can really be related to each person's physiological and metabolic factors, because it works better when someone has low-grade chronic inflammation. Like I mentioned, it's usually someone who is more sedentary, has insulin resistance, an unbalanced pro-inflammatory diet, and more vascular stress. So it can help improve the internal environment, but not the mechanical part of the blood vessels specifically. So unfortunately, it won't solve advanced varicose veins, arterial obstruction, thrombosis, or structural venous insufficiency. This is a very important point. There's also the issue of blood pressure, which many people mention in relation to ginger, the fear of using ginger and whether it will raise blood pressure or not. In most cases, people don't experience spikes in blood pressure with ginger, and actually, ginger is increasingly being studied as a food that can help the heart, the health of the arteries, and blood vessels, as I'm telling you here. Ginger activates receptors linked to thermogenesis, which increases our sensation of heat, our perception of warmth, and can slightly speed up heart rate and stimulate the sympathetic nervous system in a more temporary way. So with this combination of a warm face and feeling more energized, many people think it has to do with increased blood pressure. But that doesn't necessarily mean your blood pressure has gone up. I have an entire video here on the channel talking more about blood pressure and ginger, and I can already tell you what scientific studies say. It can even help as a complementary measure to control blood pressure. That said, if you're afraid that ginger will raise your blood pressure, know that just because of fear, your blood pressure can go up due to that fight or flight cortisol response. So if you're afraid it might harm you, or if you've received any advice from your doctor or nutritionist regarding your blood pressure not to consume any particular food, not just ginger, always follow their guidance. Remember that this video is purely informational. So, how can you use ginger safely to improve circulation and these effects on our blood vessels? Always remember that you can use fresh ginger sliced, grated, or chopped in salads. It tastes delicious in salad dressings. You can saute it together with chicken, vegetables, or rice. It also works really well with fish, so it's quite versatile. In fact, ginger often serves as the base for stir fries, along with garlic in many Asian dishes. So it brings that oriental flavor that we usually really enjoy, right? We can also make ginger tea by grating a bit of it and adding it to hot water, letting it steep for 10 to 15 minutes, or by boiling it in pieces for a few minutes, a decoction, to extract more of the active compounds. It can also be used in powdered form, and remember that ginger also works well with sweets. It goes really well with coconut milk and with some fruits, so it can be a food for you to add more often to your daily diet, to your eating routine. Tell me if you have the habit of consuming ginger, if you use it more as a seasoning, as a tea, or if you got inspired and are going to start using it now, how are you going to add it to your routine? I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video, that helps me a lot, and share it with anyone who will enjoy it or who needs it. Let's work together to expand this chain of good. That's what I want here with the channel. See you next time. Bye.